committee of conference on the FY 2023 budget. I'm not sure how much we've got ready to move forward at this point. We've got some language. I hope that we were at a point where we'd have maybe a preliminary proposal to deal with the prevention SUV package that I know that Senator Westman and Representative Fagan have been working on. So the first thing we can take up, and that is the amendment that Stephanie can run through.
So it's document number 362,826.
Okay.
It has purple rating at the top of it. And have we sent it out to?
Sarah has copies for the room, and I'm sending it to Teresa, Senator Booth, and Senator Weston right this moment.
Okay.
Okay, that's the. Okay.
And this is going back to the budget adjustment. Remember the ARPA, we used ARPA with the language that just swap it out. And this is
an right document. Is it?
It's C103.
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 Right.
It's an
And
amendment.
then underneath it is G300 investments in the.
Yeah, it's an amendment to the budget adjustment, which was an amendment to last year's G300. So we are talking about FY22 right now.
I'll be quiet and wait to understand.
Okay, does everybody have the document?
Yeah.
Revisiting the budget adjustment and the swap and using general fund and therefore frees up ARPA.
Right.
So Stephanie, do you want to just run through the?
So this amendment, this document 362,826, version 1, this would go back in and further amend G300 of Act 74, last year's budget bill, as we've amended it in Act 83, the budget adjustment. And what it is doing is going in and making those sort of technical changes in the Vermont College pieces around the psychology and social work and masters with an apostrophe, et cetera. But the important part of this amendment is it's striking out 5 items. These are the 5 items that create the $25 million of contingent swap that we did in the budget adjustment. And we would actually strike them from the ARPA, so you wouldn't deal with an ARPA contingent situation. We would simply appropriate them. There will be a companion amendment to this, to the contingent section of the BAA that appropriates these not as a swap, but as general fund appropriations. So these items that in number 23, 26, 27, 28, 29 that are struck in this amendment will come back and be amended in another section for the contingent general fund year-end FY22, where they are just actual general fund appropriations in that list as opposed to swaps. So, and that just cleans up the so you don't have to deal with a swap situation at the end of the year.
And on that note, I've just tested negative again, so.
Excellent. We'll put you in a cocoon and keep you in that room then.
Yeah, I'll have to get a room at the Cap Plaza.
Yeah, I recommend that.
Oh.
Joke.
All right, so questions about this? This is just, it's just, not, it gets rid of the swap and just.
Yeah. So you will have it, this is in section C103, and there will actually be an amendment to C102 as well that does what I just described, lists these appropriations, and then you will probably have some other changes that are yet to be determined to the year-end construct.
Okay, we're good with that. Thank you. We understand and we accept this. So thank you for that.
Do we have any other documents here? You said we might have some of the DCF, some of the.
Yeah,
where
we have a bit.
DCF is kind of the pass-through department.
Yeah, we have a bit we can do. So going back to the one time, and I'm sorry, I hope I'm not talking over you, forgive me.
No,
We're okay, all right. I don't have my glasses on, I can't really see. We can hear at least, earlier we couldn't hear, so that's an improvement. So on the one-time list, the B1100s, we had skipped over DCF, so from 29 to 33. So let us return to that. So we've had a conversation and are ready to accept number 30, the Donor Milk Center grant. So we accept your change there. We have the food bank, the diaper program, we accept that. And then the grant to 5, the way it's annotated here, the grant to 5 youth service providers, we've seen an email from Senator Westman to Rep. Jessup about that. We understand what you're trying to do. I think we need to, again, be clearer about who it is that these grants are going to. There's still a little bit of confusion, but we accept the general proposal to do that.
so you accept the money, but we need to maybe add some clarifying language.
Yeah.
All right,
So what
Okay.
I've seen, again, in this email from Senator Westman to Rep. Jessup, it's 200,000 to be granted to 5 youth service provider organizations that currently have contracts. I think we just need to be a little bit clearer about what that means. But to me, that we understand who it is that we're trying to identify, but if somebody outside of this room, our rooms, were having this conversation, they wouldn't. So I trust our staff to find it and be clear on that, so we can accept that.
okay.
So, and we're still holding on the conversation on the Center for Crime Victim Services. So maybe we can turn to some language, some of our language then. Let's see, let's do a really simple one that should have been emailed to you. At the top, it is called E335 replacement. And so this has to do with just being as clear. One's just a technical correction. In your bill, you had, or your version, you referred, a wrong fiscal year. It needs to be, do you all have the documents? I'm sorry.
we do
I-
not.
I don't.
I don't either.
We don't have it yet.
Just send it to Chrissy and then she'll forward it on and I'll post it.
Okay, so while you're waiting, I'm gonna run next door. I'll be right back while we're getting the document.
Okay. So Teresa, why don't you send the 3 documents to Chrissy and we'll just pay, so we're not slowing down. So
Okay,
the E335, the one that's called Section X Restorative Justice Study Report. And then the one that is
they have the
from
SUD.
Damien, the 400.1 UI insurance, yeah. Those 3. So let's get those to our colleagues.
And Senator Berizzi, I just sent you the first one.
So making sure that you all have copies, but
Just wait for it to
I forgot about us. in.
So Chrissy, I got
I don't have
E335.
another one.
Yeah, that's the one you're reviewing right now. I haven't gotten the others yet,
Okay,
but I'll send them as soon as I have them.
thank you.
You are welcome. And our printer's being incredibly slow.
It is slow, slower than I am.
Here it comes. Yeah, you want more copy too?
Okay, if you're printing one.
Here you go. Okay,
Okay, I think we all have it now.
Okay, so the first one is very simple. It's in the Department of Correction area 335. There was just a wrong date in B. You had FY23, it should be FY24. That's in the first sentence there. In fiscal year 23, any unexpended funds for correctional services out of state beds shall be carried forward. You said it's a typo, so we're fixed that typo. It should be 24. And then we've added another sentence to it. It's asking for this to go to the Joint Justice Oversight Committee, but then obviously it also needs to come to us. So that's what that last sentence, the House Committees on Appropriation and Corrections and Institutions and Senate on Appropriations and Judiciary shall be notified of any expenditures. So not only tell Justice Oversight, but tell the relevant committees too. So that's the first one.
No, it's money carried forward and spending it in a different way, so it's not a new appropriation, it's just how you allocate. And so the approval stays in joint justice oversight, but the notification goes to the standing committees at the same time.
And Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, go ahead, Senator.
Representative Hooper, I'm wondering,
Hubel.
I am on Joint Justice Oversight. I don't remember us okaying these sorts of things before. Am I assuming this is a new procedure?
Well, I was wondering the same question of the extent to which we give the approval of spending to an oversight committee.
This is your amendment to our budget.
Yeah, and I think
So you added that approval language.
so we actually have the same language for the end of 22, I believe, in the existing budget.
Okay.
So we started it, but the spending authority is already given in the budget. This is the approval of
How they're spending.
it on community if it carries forward and is available. So you're not actually giving the spending authority, you're giving the approval of this
Of how they're-
redirected use of the money.
So this was just an error then.
The 2024 is, in the last sentence is the notification that they're asking, it's not underlined, but they're asking for the standing committees to be notified, even though the approval stays at the Joint Justice Oversight.
All right. Well, I think we want to definitely correct the year, and so the notification is fine. Okay. Anything else?
So that's that one. So are you accepting that or are you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I just wanted to know which pile to put it in. Okay, now why don't we turn to so while we're in this area of the Justice Oversight Committee, the one that at the top says Section X, Restorative Justice Oversight. Do you have that, Peter and Kimberly? That one, and here I have an extra for Sarah. She has. She. Okay. So do you
Much
did you
shorter.
find that one too? Has it been forwarded to you yet?
And I think we want to look at it. We heard testimony on that language that we struck, and people were saying, this is incredible. We were never asked for testimony, and we were totally surprised by having this requirement. And so it was, we felt, in light of everything else that was going on, what that language did was fairly labor intensive. And we were rather taken back that something of such magnitude, the people that were being asked to do the work had not been asked to testify. So for all those reasons, we struck it. Now, this is your replacement language.
This is our replacement. We had been having conversations, actually, it's more than a year old of conversations we've been having on our side with individual members about just looking at how the restorative justice system works. As folks know, it's been something that has grown over time and from the communities up, which is pretty fabulous. But as a result, it's very different in all over the state. They're very different approaches to how the different programs are housed and who runs them. And it seems like it's time to get that broad overview and to say, how does this work? So your decision was you didn't want to approach it the way we did. So we went to my favorite committee and wanted to offer as a task for that committee that the Legislative Justice Oversight Committee would take this conversation on.
Well, let me, I want to have this reviewed by Senator Sears. He obviously is a key person in anything to do with justice oversight. And this looks like a fairly hefty assignment we're giving legislators over the summer. So let me before we respond, have the benefit of his review. Senator Baruth.
Thank you. I'm in agreement that Senator Sears should be consulted. The other thing is Joint Justice Oversight. We took on a similar assignment last summer in order to consider the use of a single track for expungement and sealing. And it was a very involved, complicated issue, the sort that you would want a committee of jurisdiction to take up every day for a period of a month. But Joint Justice Oversight only has a few meetings. And, honestly, we found ourselves a little swamped by the size of the assignment. And I fear something similar here. This is written in such a comprehensive way that it would occupy that committee for probably all of its scheduled meetings. And we do have other things we're supposed to be doing. So I guess my initial reaction is that it seems like not just a task that committee would have to take on, but pretty much its sole task for the off season. So I'll just reserve opinion other than to say that and say that I think Senator Sears should certainly be consulted.
So we have shared this information with Senator Sears. Excuse me, you need to hear from him directly, but we tried to draft this collaboratively with him. I appreciate that we are inclined to send lots of jobs to the Justice Oversight Committee. I would suggest that it's because we have so much confidence in it, and I'm really sorry I'm no longer on it. I really like that committee. This issue of the restorative justice system needs to be attended to. In my opinion, we are under-resourcing a very, very important part of our justice system because it is a stepchild of several departments and a child of none of them. And we keep not attending to this. I've raised this several times, so I'm continuing to try to get us to pay attention to how we are serious about our restorative justice work. And I hope over time fund it properly.
And I certainly agree with you, Madam Chair. I think it's long overdue. My only question has to do with whether Joint Justice Oversight, given their current responsibilities can do this justice. So that's all I would check with Senator Sears about.
So you'll review that.
Yes, we will.
And then the last one we have for you right now is the one that is section 400.1, the UI unemployment insurance. We had offered something before, or we had a conversation about this before, and you said what we had did not make sense, or you did not understand the scope. So the wonderful people I work with are listening to us, the committee members listen to the conversation and are offering this we are offering this as an alternative. One of the things that I was reminded of is that, so I should pause. Do you have it? I'm sorry, I'm on a roll.
Yeah, you must have gotten more sleep than I did, Representative Hooper.
Yeah, I did. I live closer to home than you do.
Well, I see it makes it clear, it's not just the IT, you're really talking about the administrative costs without it falling to the general fund.
And the thing that I wanted to point out is even on the IT side, I am reminded that we spend, this new system is going to require us to spend $6 to $7 million annually on licensing fees, just for the IT part of it. So, I mean, that's just the way, because we're purchasing software as a service, that's the cost of having it. In the current budget, we're paying $2 million for this already. So these are general fund expenses that are going to live on that we have never had to assume before. And thus our wanting to seriously investigate alternative sources. We can see how that could work in terms of a special assessment on so that the people who are putting the demands on the system are actually paying for it. But that's what this is hoping to come up with. So I appreciate you're going to want to read this one too, I'm sure. But that's our proposal.
Okay. And I'm sure that if the administration's taking a look, they will give us a response as well.
Yeah. Okay, that is, I am sad to say, all we've got at the moment. We had such fabulous, sorry to keep saying fabulous. We had great momentum going, and it feels like we've kind of slowed down a bit.
Well, I think we've closed out quite a few things on the one-time list in the ARPA. I think what we need to at some point, we'll have to get into the base funding and how we're dealing with that. We've got a couple of areas that we have to consider, and that is the waiting study and what you had for money, the bill came up here without any. So we've got to look at that because that's some of it's one time, but there's ongoing base. And so the other, we have to address that as well as we're looking at any other bills that might be out there that you have allocated money for. We just did the Truth and Reconciliation today, and at the 7:28, I believe it was, that was 7:48. 7:48. So let's.
There is perhaps one that I could just ask for help and understanding so we can think about what our response should be. And yes, so much of this bill is tied into other bills. And so that is the reason we're having a hard time closing some pieces. And in fact, so I have a question about C109. which is your new language in the budget that deals with dual enrollment. And I was wondering if you could talk to us about why this is necessary.
Is this the $75,000?
No, this is not the, we already, I don't know about 75, but we accepted the, that section where we just dropped it. What is it? The paying for the, no, this is C-109 that is in dual enrollment. It talks about, it strikes a section of the definition of a student that's eligible, and then talks about post-secondary support of, none of the payment of dual enrollment can go to accredited post-secondary institutions, will be used to support religious instruction. And I was just wondering if we could understand more of why you were proposing this. It's in the document I'm looking at, it's on page 26 of the annotated version of the Senate bill.
So I'm having a very hard time finding the document.
It's a lot of work for the committee. It's C-109, it's dual enrollment, and I think the section that's being referred to is none of the payments to the accredited post-secondary institution will be used to support religious instruction. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Indoctrination. And why is that necessary in the dual enrollment as opposed to the other section of the bill which dealt with the tuition payment?
Yeah, which we agreed to already.
So I guess that is language that is not currently in place with dual enrollment. Is that what you're, Jim Demeray sent us an email that it needed to be modified anyway, but the question you're raising is this adding a new requirement that isn't there in dual enrollment right now?
I hesitate to say anything because I am not looking at the document. Can people tell me where?
It's of the Senate passed bill. It's
Yeah.
section C-109. You had taken it out of the other, we had made a copy of it in this bill. We've done it.
Okay. I'm just trying to find the Senate passed bill.
Senator Baruth, I just
Yes.
cut and pasted it into an email to you and Senator
Okay.
Weston.
Beautiful, thank you. Okay. Right, so if I might, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
So this is work that our Education Committee did in order to move away from, when dual enrollment was written, it was written to explicitly favor public schools over independents, and independents could only receive half the amount that you could receive if you went to a public school, the district. And then that was changed to put independents and publics on an equal footing in the next biennium, but there was still the sense that we should not allow dual enrollment to be used for parochial schools. But given the tilt of the Supreme Court, the tenor of various decisions that have come down in the meanwhile, we began to get advice that it was untenable to stay with that. And so we, a couple of years back, when I was still chair of Senate Ed, we tried to work with House Education to change this. We were unsuccessful. So what we're doing here really is getting rid of the vestiges of those requirements that you had to be in a public school, et cetera. And now it's just opening it up to everyone, with the exception that there's a guardrail put on how the money that can be spent that echoes some of what would have been in S-Bill 219.
Let me ask Senator Baruth.
Yep.
Right now, if you're in a public school,
Yes,
and you want to go to a post-secondary institution, do we have that limiting language in place? Because this has to do with the payment to an accredited post-secondary, not the where the student is going to high school. So is
Right.
this something that's being added that hasn't been part of dual enrollment?
No, you always had to go to an accredited post-secondary institution, but in this case, it's including those that are parochial in nature. It's just saying, so I think here it's not adding that the post-secondary accreditation, it's adding that it can go to a school like St. Mike's, but it clarifies that none of that money can be used for religious instruction or indoctrination.
Okay, and but my question is, if I went to Burlington High School and I wanted
Yep.
to take a course at St. Mike's,
Yep.
is that language,
It used to be you couldn't do it, but with this language, you could.
you could, all right, so a public school student couldn't go to a religious affiliated college or
That-
university?
That used to be the case. But I'm sorry, it is the case until we change the law. But the recommendation is that we will continue to lose in the courts if we attempt to uphold a distinction. Because without going into too much detail, it used to be an acceptable argument to say, we can't send money to St. Mike's for tuition because they could use it in a fungible way. They might not use that money directly for instruction, but they could swap it out with money the way we do with ARPA funds.
All right,
And-
so
and
this
but
is
just-
opening up then post-secondary institutions, but putting the guardrails around
Yes,
and so currently, if I were in a public high school and I wanted to go to St. Mike's under dual enrollment, that would be prohibited. This language then would allow that, but only as long as these conditions are met. In other words, this is all new language governing dual enrollment for even the historically eligible high school students.
right. And there's also the question of, students that were at parochial schools. There were questions about whether they could access the money as well. So regardless of where they were going, it was more where they were coming from. So those were just, to my mind, they were nagging questions that continued to move through the courts because we had, in essence, set up a system that was, to a certain extent, biased against secondary kids from parochial schools or those who wanted to go to parochial post-secondary schools.
Does that answer your question? So this is something that would be added, but I thought you were saying you didn't like any of this anyway.
So this discussion has, in my mind, just underlined the complexity of this issue. And I understand that it was, the Senate has had time to look at it via S 219, but we have not on the House side. And it raises important, significant policy decisions that I do not believe belongs in the budget and needs to be negotiated and first of all, understood thoroughly by both bodies. We haven't taken it up as a policy matter. And our House Education Committee has heard that there may be significant other problems that should be considered as part of all of this. And I'm just I do not believe it belongs in the budget.
Oh, your position is what it was previously, that
Yeah,
you're not supporting the dual enrollment language
We
and
would not
the
support-
150 appropriation, 75 general fund, 75 ed fund.
So to be clear, we would not support the change of the definition here and, you know, the language, et cetera. I am our interest is in supporting the dual enrollment program as it exists today. Having the policy discussion about should it be expanded to other groups, go through the policy, the subject matter committees, and have a thorough discussion there to make sure that we're addressing what I understand to possibly be some constitutional issues. And that needs to exist somewhere else, not in the budget. We can do little bits of policy, but this one seems to be very large and unvetted on our side. So our preference would be that it goes away. I understand there is 75,000 here, and I'm sorry, Senator Brute, you asked that and I didn't understand that. So I need to figure that piece out, but in terms of the language, we do not.
Your position has not changed from what it was a couple of days ago.
No, it's just that we haven't had a conversation, and I now understand it more fully, and that has not changed my position. I'm smiling. I wish you could see that, but I am smiling. We have not changed our position.
Okay, Senator Baruth, and then we're going to move on because this may be more than can be accommodated in the budget, and we need to talk about it.
And I'm you know, obviously my personal opinion is that this is in keeping with dual enrollment, and it is in keeping with the legal trends that we've been observing. If the committee from the House is not ready to have that in the budget, I think given that 219 didn't leave your side, it wouldn't be a crazy thing to pull it out of the budget, although I support it personally.
I've had some further discussion around it, and in light of the fact that the House hasn't acted on the bill that we passed, and there are a variety of policy issues that still have been identified, and so we are going to concur. That's why I'm just saying you've spent an awful lot of passion to get to where I was going to tell you. So
you're welcome to say, Mary, be quiet. We agree.
Well, I just want to tire you out so that when we get to the things that we so all right, we can.
Remember, I slept last night, so I'm okay.
Well, I hope you've tested today too.
I did, and I'm negative.
Oh, good, good.
Yeah.
So we are going to remove that section.
And we can also change.
And we would also remove the 75 and the 75. I guess we said 75.
Yeah.
That gives me a little on the general.
Oh,
fund.
there you go. We'll let you spend it.
Yeah, well, don't worry. I'm trying to find enough to cover what we have spent.
Yeah,
Including the, the waiting bill, because that's carries an appropriation, and so we're gonna have to move some money around. Okay, anything else that you want to,
to be passionate about.
yeah,
Do you want to agree with us on the decarbonization language? We asked you to take it out.
I'm sorry.
That's section E126.1. We suggested that wasn't necessary.
E126.1,
That was that.
E,
The joint pension
Oh,
oversight.
yes, yes. I did speak to, the chair, and I explained that you have, your position has, what do they call that? When you change your position, when it mature, not mature, but.
Mature? Are you saying I'm maturing?
Yeah, no, what is it? You reassess
Evolved.
or whatever.
Evolved.
Evolved, that's the word I'm looking for.
As long as you don't say flip-flop.
No, no, I'm not saying you've evolved. I did talk to the chair. I laid out your view is, that with the creation of the, pension investment committee and their responsibility and how that should be part of doing their work and evaluating, investments, and feeling that we wanted to respect that process and knowing that this would be part of their analysis, that this was, at this point, not necessary, or this intrusion, so to speak, in the work of the investment committee, and that that we will remove the section here after consultation with the chair and explaining your thinking about putting this in the budget and the funding. And so we can close that out too.
Okay, thank you very much. And then one other one that we had offered you was moving the money for the family reunification program from the DCF back to the Defender General. Did you, we suggested that and you were thinking about it. Maybe you wanted to do more research on it. I don't recall. Is that ringing bells?
That's going to be the argument.
It's 150,000 that used to be
You
with.
know, no, I understand Representative Hooper, and I understand your argument that it really doesn't make sense to make an appropriation to turn around, to DCF to have it turn around and being granted back to the Defender General's office as opposed to a direct appropriation. And for whatever reason, is that maybe another area where your thinking has evolved and we will agree with it?
Okay. I'm pleased that I'm evolving.
Yeah,
We should all be pleased. Okay, thank you. I do not, so one of the others that we talked about was we were wordsmithing together on E301. You know, maybe we should just ask the staff to pull that together rather than me trying to remember what the wordsmithing is, and I don't have that. But E301-3 on the provider rate increases, we were trying to find, Senator Baruch offered some editing of my language, and I haven't seen, we should type that up properly, so we'll do that. So we don't have anything else for you right now.
okay. Well, I have a bill to get out, so I'm going to probably adjourn this meeting, and I'll reconvene Senate Appropriations at 2:30, because that's about 10 minutes from now. And because Senator Sears has got to drive back to Bennington, he's doing, you know, a daily rocket run here. And then we can see whether we want to come back later in the day. I'm in the building, Representative Hooper, and so perhaps we can just touch base.
Okay, we will do that. We will stand ready whenever it makes sense to come back together again today, but we'll touch base
Okay.
and let everybody know. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right, thank you. And so